Hi everyone, it's Viktor speaking. And I was thinking to actually produce a video about transits to the 12th house. I think it's causing plenty of headache for everyone. Probably one of the hardest houses to interpret is this one. And this should be quite close to my heart as well, because in the next 2.5 years, I have got Saturn there, and this year also Jupiter. So, and also I do have Sun in the 12th house. So I have been thinking a lot how to prepare for this life-changing experience. And I thought I would like to share it with you as well. Maybe you can take some practical advice away from it. So one thing we are told is that karma is here. Karma is represented by the 12th house. And I believe plenty of us tend to believe that karma is something which is, well, very hard and it's very unfortunate. And even the good people will suffer misfortune if they are, carrying some mysterious past life debts and so forth. And when we are looking at the ancient textbooks, then this house brings frustration, anxiety, confinement, losses. Somehow it relates to slavery, sickness, imprisonment. So it rules hospitals and prisons, mental institutions, things which is happening behind the scenes, as well as monasteries. So 12th house has got quite a bad reputation because it was said to be the house of hidden enemies. And it has got something to do with the evils. And of course, you don't really know about those evils, right? So it could be like your, I don't know, smiling beautician, or it could be your boss. And somehow this is the house of sorcerers, basically. Um, but I would say, come on, let's wake up. There is no such things like bad houses, because there are so much good things about the 12 as well, such as something to do with your inner dreams, your imagination, your intuition, something to do with compassion. Um, something the 12 house is also going to be representing what can save you and yeah, potentially how you can become a savior to others. Of course, 12 house is going to be carrying some of those choices you have to make before actually it starts manifesting in your life. Are you going to be a savior to others, or are you actually going to be a martyr? If you really start thinking about the geometrical position of the 12th house, that's one of your closest house to the first, but also the furthest one away. And and it's your choice. So are you choosing to be a martyr? Are you choosing to be a savior? Are you going to be blaming others, or actually you are going to be making some changes in your life? 12th house is always going to talk to you about becoming serious about your inner life, about your spiritual life, somehow claiming your spiritual authority figure energy. Yes, sometimes you're going to have to deny things from yourself to be able to clear to get the bigger picture, right? So it could be the house of fasting and silence and the period of celibacy and so forth. Yes, we do need to give up on certain bits to achieve the greater good within us. There was this French psychologist who actually used some statistical models to investigate astrology's accuracy. And basically, he was a non believer. And then he started discovering that many astrologer factors he believed it didn't have any relevance whatsoever. But the planets in the 12th house did have a strong correlation with your career success. So, for instance, he said that Mars in the 12th house was often found in sportsmen's charts, or actors and politicians and journalists were very typical when Jupiter was in the 12th house, or scientists and doctors. That was something to do with Saturn or Mars being in the 12th, or painters and musicians, which was something to do with Venus, and plenty of writers had Moon in the 12th house. And one of the reasons why I agree with him, his name was Michael, and I can't pronounce his name, so don't don't ask me to do so. Maybe I put his name on the link or on in the corner of the video, so you can check him out if you want to. But I agree with him because those planets, in most cases, are in sextile with your midheaven. So it could be giving you a great choice, a source of income as well, if you like it. And over the years, I've also noticed what happens when a planet transits the 12th house. And of course, finally, the planet is going to be emerging the first. So we are talking about a very important process we are going through, which might have been very private to you. And whenever a planet is transiting your 12th house, basically it wants you to reveal something from yourself, or it just wants to reveal something to you which you might not have noticed. The reason why we call the 12th house as the house of self-undoing, because as I said, there are sacrifices needed to be made here. You're gonna have to leave things behind. You're gonna have to kind of embrace a spiritual energy if you want to, you know, become successful with those planets what you have got in the 12th house. um, and as I also mentioned, 12th house was very much determined as one of the career houses by the ancient astrologers because of that sextile towards your midheaven. But but I would also mention that the most important part of the 12th house is that you're gonna have to fight your inner demons. You're gonna have to somehow work through your inferiority complex, something to do with your inner insecurities. You're gonna have to discover why you are undermining yourself, why you are creating suffering for yourself. And of course, if you choose to be hiding, sleep, or hibernate, then you're never going to be reaching your goal. So consciously, we need to determine time and effort to dive into ourselves more and deeper than ever. So, you know, questions like 12th house is very much asking you whether you are taking responsibility and you eliminate your self-defeating behavior or not. And this is going to be the main question, one of those main questions 12th house transits are going to be asking you. Yes, so with 12th house energy, in many cases, we tend to be even denying the fact that we've got self-destructive behaviors, not only for others, but to ourselves as well. And obviously, that is what we call a self-denial. So when you have got a transit in your 12th house, and I'm especially talking about the giant ones, so Saturn, Jupiter, we don't take Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune into account because they are going to be spending plenty of time there. But when Saturn and Jupiter are there, then that's when this hidden part of yourself are revealed so that you can bring them onto the surface and then you can eliminate them forever. So 12th house transits are, I would call them as a preparation phase for a new start of yourself. So those insecurities are revealed to you so that you can start working on them. And somehow the subconscious or the unconscious part of yourself becomes a lot more conscious. And of course, it is your choice whether you are going to experience that through painful events or painful encounters with consequences of self-defeating habits, or through voluntary entering into some type of contemplation, and you're going to start doing some self-inquiry. So 12th house is the house of retreat. And when a planet is transiting the 12th, then we are given the opportunity to do some self-reflection. And you might do that through, I don't know, going for a retreat, going on a holiday on your own. But sometimes the circumstances are going to be involving illnesses or loss of someone, or something could even happen to our employment. So I would kind of call the 12th house is the house of awakening. And no wonder why some of the astrologers believe that Uranus has got some planetary joy in here. Uranus is the planet of awakening. But I would say that 12th house energies in the long run is a gift rather than a misfortune. And, you know, some people tend to be running away from these obligations. So therefore, they tend to be choosing drugs and alcohol, or their eating habits is changing massively, or they just go into some type of solitude, or actually they are suffering from workaholism. So this is the reason why we call the house of self-undoing, because we need to change our habits, like doing a spring clean, basically. And of course, different planets can be transiting your 12th house. So the inferior planets, such as Mercury and Venus, they are going to be spending only maximum a month or two here. And the change is a lot more obvious when a slow-moving planet hits your 12th, and that's going to be Saturn and Jupiter. So Jupiter spends here a year. Jupiter usually spends a year in each sign, and it is a long enough period to notice changes within yourself. And Jupiter is, for instance, the planet of gurus. So people tend to become more spiritually inclined. But of course, there is only one meaning to Jupiter, and that's the positive meaning. But Jupiter also acts like a magnifying glass. So it could enhance your self-destructive behavior as well. Of course, if you are a little bit blinded and you are not willing to notice those. And, you know, and any planet going through your 12th house, you must remember every single of them has got a positive and a negative meaning. 12th house is always about taking the higher path. And by the time it finishes its transit, you should be able to move out of your self-isolation and should be able to start things with enthusiasm. So for instance, Saturn, which has got a longer cycle, he spends approximately 2.5 years here. You should examine, of course, the natal condition of your Saturn by house, sign, and strength and aspects to Saturn as well, to be able to fully understand what it brings for you. So if you are handling well the Saturnian things in your life, which relates to responsibility, maturity, self-discipline, or how you are dealing with authority figures and work, right? Something to do with gaining respect, then I don't think Saturn will bring you repercussions. But if you behave like in a childlike manner or disregard your responsibilities, you are not willing to take things seriously, then Saturn can be an extremely challenging period. So even if you have got Saturn strong natally, meaning that maybe it has got a triplicity position, rulership, or even exaltation, you can still find this transit a slightly bit challenging as things can slow down for you, and it might cause frustration. Remember, Saturn is the planet of achievement, so it wants to leave a legacy behind. And those especially who sacrifice their life for work or achieving material success also tends to be experiencing challenging. Because remember, it is serving you as a reminder that your life needs to be brought back into balance. With Saturn restricting the financials, by the way, 12th house rules bigger expenditures. So unfortunately, Jupiter and Saturn can also bring those um, into your life. And as I said, especially to those who are very much focused on the material gains and they are not looking inwards as much as they should be. 12th house is 12th house people are very introverted and they need their time of solitude. And being in a group or being with others can be draining for them. And I do know I've got Pisces rising sign, I've got Sun in the 12th house. So the core element of my personality is solitude. But introversion, it doesn't mean that you need to be fixed. You need to know that it's part of who you are. And plenty of these people are told, and I was told as well, that, oh, you might need to be visiting a psychologist. It's not normal that you like hanging around at home and so forth. No, we don't need therapy. We don't need, compensation by having people around or having a lover when we don't feel like it. Some of us need time for contemplating, or their job requires somehow to be alone a lot. Maybe because, for instance, I want to be making a video, or I am writing my book, for instance. And in those cases, you're gonna have to be sometimes on your own to invite the muses in. So um, I've noticed that the more planet we have got in the 12th house, the more we tend to be having a compulsive behavior. And the self-sabotaging is something which definitely needs to be addressed though. So if someone spots those traits within themselves, what I can recommend is that they need to be turning towards spirituality because that is going to be helping them a lot. Another interesting thing which I would like to share about the 12th house, and probably not many people know about this, but the 12th house reveals a rising sign's hidden agendas. So, and it's not only the rising sign hidden agendas, but for instance, if you want to know the hidden agenda of your second house, you can look at the previous one because that's going to be the 12 from the second. So I give you an example. I have got Aries on the second house cusp, which is the way you handle money, the way you relate to money. Basically something to do with your possessions and your material success as well to a certain extent. So it means that I have got Pisces on the first house cusp. And it might show that I am inspired to earn money, to be loved by others. Maybe somehow I am going to be connecting the financial success with self-worth. No wonder the second house is called self-worth. Of course, it's not that easy. You're gonna have to be looking at where the first house cusp is, and what is the ruler of that, right? And that is going to be giving you additional picture of where this contemplating energy, let's say, of the second house comes from. But you can also look at the seventh house this way and so forth. So in that case, we can say that 12th house can show your programs or your fears. But with fears, it is also worth looking at the 9 from the second house, for instance, because that is going to be showing you your financial programs. But these programs are also shown by Saturn and Pluto as well. But I am not going to go into that in depth now because I didn't want to speak about financials today, but it just came up as an example. So 12th house is the house of secrets, things people don't know about you, but also 12th house is your hidden talents. And you might want to be looking at the ruler, whether that ruler has got some type of aspects towards the midheaven. Because if yes, so then maybe some of your hidden talents could be relating to the planet and the sign the 12th house ruler is contained. So going back to the secret parts of the 12th house, the more planet you have got in the 12th house, the more secrets you have. The closer the planet to your rising sign, the more aware you are of those secrets. And usually you have got some shame attached to these. If those planets are on early degrees, it could even indicate that you are not aware of those secrets. It could be actually talking about karmic blockages. So 12th house overall is requiring to look within, to get ready for a major change in your life. As soon as those planets are going to be hitting your first house, you are going to be experiencing a new you. And if you don't start that process with the 12th house transits, then usually those changes are quite hard when the planets are hitting the first house. If you are ready for the changes and you are doing something about them, then usually the 12th house transits are very pleasant. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I just wanted to share my experience about 12th house energies, because I know it's very misunderstood. It's very hard to work with. But I hope this video gives you a little bit of an insight of how to deal with them. I think turn inside, go towards spirituality, fight through your inner demons, work through your inferiority complexes. And then once you have done them, they are not your enemies anymore. They are, you need to understand that the 12th house demons are invisible. All live within you. So that's why I don't necessarily like to say that the 12th house is the secret enemies, because actually I believe you are your biggest enemy. I am my own biggest enemy. And for instance, with the 12th house sun, I accepted the fact that I like being alone. I lived 33 years of my life of going out once or twice a week, having drinks with friends, partying, and so forth. But I realized that doesn't really make me happy anymore. It makes me more happy to be sitting at home, reading a book, tidying things up, maybe making a phone call or two to friends, and then maybe once a week socializing as well. And there is nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you are sick or you have got psychological problems at all. It just means that you live in your 12th house. And that's why, think about those monks, right? They are living in monasteries because they want to be one step closer to God. So a 12th house person needs to be one step closer to their uh, process of self undoing, to be closer to their inner God. So it means that you are just giving yourself the chance to do so. Well, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.